Hey guys, this is Comic Uno and Comic Frontline, and today I'm doing Comic Uno episode 158. So, this is the show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show. So this week I have 18 comics. We go worst pick of the week to best pick of the week. It's a kind of, not light week, it's an average week I would like to call it. And like I said, we go worst pick of the week to best pick of the week. So what was number 18? Let's get started here. Put my, don't know where I would put my iPad. I'll put it on my lap. Alright, let's start with number 18. Sad to see this so low. Web Warriors issue 10. Now, this is the penultimate issue to the ending of Web Warriors. And I kind of just felt like it was all over the place. Now, I, of course, am picking up Web Warriors because of Mayday Parker, but also because I'm a Spider fan. I like seeing all these different Spider characters come together and jump into all these different universes. And like I said, with this issue, the biggest problem was that there was too many Spider characters, too many jumping of universes. Everything that makes this series good is just too much of it. It made it very crowded, and you just didn't know what direction they were going half the time. So, of course, in the end, it seems like they'll defeat the Electros and be like, cool, team. I guess that's what's going to happen in the last issue. But yeah, even though I like the art style, I like that we get to see these different art styles in the different worlds. You got the cartoony world, you got, you know, the regular art style we get, and that's cool. I like that aspect of the series, but yeah, way too over the place. So I gave that number 18, and that was worst pick of the week, sadly, and that was Web Warriors issue 10. Moving on to number 17, which is another series. I just kind of rolled my eyes when I read it, and I'll let you know why. But Green Arrow issue 5. So this is a series, I liked the way it started. Somehow it folded a little. Yeah, I liked the way it started. I liked that Black Canary was there, and the relationship he had, or at least Green Arrow had, with Black Canary. And this issue, I feel like, it's a lot of things that, there's a lot of scenes where we should be happy as readers. You know, Black Canary and Green Arrow kiss. They do have the personalities right there. Mimiko says, I'm switching sides. And Ditko's like, I'm part of the team too. They jump off the boat, because this whole thing is on a boat. And, in the end, you have another kind of classic Green Arrow ending where he's on an island. He's on the island. And I think there's a little bit too much fan service in this issue, and it's weird to say that, but I feel like we didn't deserve these moments, and that was my biggest problem of the issue. Like when Black Canary and Green Arrow kiss, why? Why did they kiss? They don't really know each other. They got so excited about each other. Now, if they kept highlighting that they knew each other, that they had these memories, that they did that in the first issue, but they never really mentioned it again. It's like, oh, we don't really know each other, but hey, I kind of like you, let's hang out. I feel like the personalities we had here is of years and years of development in the pre-New 52 that we don't really have in this universe yet. So I thought the build-up was weird, and again, they didn't really tackle the memories if they wanted that build-up, and if they wanted that years and years of history, they haven't tackled that enough. Now, going into Mimiko, I thought that was rushed too. It's like, alright, you have them, like, her switching sides all the time. It's like, brother, I love you. Mother, I love you. Brother, I love you. Mother, I love you. It's like, it's switching sides so often that you don't care about that character's motives, because there really wasn't any. It's like, oh, I loved Mother, but now I showed I loved you, brother. You know, I just feel like there should have been more motive. So again, in hindsight, these are cool moments that happen if you like these characters, but they needed the build-up to actually feel satisfying, and they didn't. Another thing is that ending with him being on the island. We've seen that so many times. It just didn't feel like we needed to be there. I think we need to fix Green Arrow first in his own city before you go back to the island. Or maybe the island will be able to reboot Green Arrow in a good way. That's my hope. But I think the strongest aspect of this book is definitely the art. Really like the art style. Some really great action scenes, and I think that works. Some cool moments with Black Canary. I liked it, but the story really needs working on, and I think we need that build-up. We needed to get this world again, and it just needs to be fixed in a lot of ways. And again, it's not even just because of this series is happening. It's just a lot of things you had to fix with the New 52 before you got into this. So, Green Arrow issue 5, even though there's a lot of moments you would think would make a fan happy, I think just needs to build up some stuff better. So I gave this 2 stars, and that was number 17. Moving on to number 16, which I won't go too much into detail because I did a big in-depth review on my channel, but that was Civil War II Choosing Sides, issue 4. And I, of course, got the Power Pack variant. I'm a huge Power Pack fan, and the reason I picked up this issue was for the Power Pack. So shortly, just want to say that there was a Punisher story. It's pretty much Punisher doing what he does best, killing people. Not really connected to Civil War II, wasn't needed in this issue because he has his own series. If you want to read The Punisher, you can read that series. I personally don't really like The Punisher, so I didn't need this story. I think choosing sides should always be characters that don't have their own series or are not really highlighted in other series, and maybe they're just supporting characters. I'll leave Power Pack for last, but the last story was Nick Fury. So this is a silent issue, and I feel the art's cool, like it's cool to have the silent issue, but it's not enough for us to actually have some meat in this story. It just feels like it's not a waste of pages, because it is nice, you know, it's nice pages to look at, but it's not really progressing the story, and I don't think the story needed to be told in every Choosing Sides issue. I think this could have had more room for other characters, like I said, that don't really get the spotlight. Now, moving on to the Power Pack, there's aspects I liked about this issue. I enjoyed the art style. I like that was 100% a throwback to the old art from the first ongoing series of the Power Pack. Even the moment where Julie doesn't have her legs there. That's a callback to the old Power Pack. If you see current modern Power Pack or just Julie Power stories, she always has her legs there. So I thought that was cool. But I feel like they had too many forced themes of growing up, and it kind of made it awkward in a lot of ways. And the way they tackled the Civil War II situation felt thrown in there, and it just didn't transition well. Even though they had a perfect transition with losing Alex and then comparing that to the superhero community losing Hulk. I also think this could have been a good opportunity to show Julie's character a little bit more, because they had a moment in this issue where they should have and could have showed her bisexuality and, you know, talk about it with her siblings, but they don't really use it here, and I think that could have been an interesting thing for these characters that actually progressed the Power Pack in the short stories and making it worth reading. So overall, I gave this issue 2.5 stars. I wasn't really impressed with any of the stories, so I don't think you need to get this issue. So that was number 16. Moving on to number 15, which is Superman issue 5. Still not really cracking that top 5, but Action Comics did last week. But Superman, for me, I still think is really slow. It's still them fighting the Eradicator. Now, there are good moments in this issue. I even think the artwork improved. We get to see a little bit more detailed art, which I liked. It's still very, like, big-eyed type art, but I still liked it. So I like the art style. The best moment for me, obviously, is Lois fighting in that Batman suit. I thought that was pretty cool. And there's small details I enjoyed, but it's still a very slow story and kind of the same thing happening every issue where it's not entertaining. I want some more things to happen in the stories. So even though the character interactions were pretty good, it didn't really make the issue for me. So I gave it 3 stars. So now moving on to, we're up to number 14, which is the Powerpuff Girls, issue 2, which I've been getting just because I am a Powerpuff Girls fan. I'm not a fan of the newer cartoon, but at least you don't really have to hear the voices with the comics, so you can get the story without hearing the weird voices they have from the newer cartoon. And this was cute, I guess. It's about this guy who wants to open up a restaurant and use the idea that the Powerpuff Girls are scared of horror movies or scary movies, and they are chickens, and they literally turn into chickens to promote this guy's restaurant, pretty much. And, of course, the Powerpuff Girls are able to defeat them, and the big theme of the issue is it's okay to be scared, even if you are the Powerpuff Girls. So overall, you know, there was actually some quick lines where I chuckled at, and that I enjoyed, and it kind of brought me back to old Powerpuff Girls. But the villain was kind of weird and I guess kiddie in a way. Like, it's definitely written more for a kid than it is for an adult, where I feel like the old Powerpuff Girls series, the comic even with IDW, was written for both. The kids could enjoy it, but also the adults who watch the show can enjoy it too. So the Powerpuff Girls issue 2 gets 3 stars. I'll still pick it up, just, you know, because again, I like the Powerpuff Girls, but is not on par as where I want it to be. So that was number 14. Moving on to number 13, which is Nightwing issue 3. So Nightwing is another series that I want to really like, but it's just kind of in this rut. It's in a rut for me. That even with Barbara didn't make this better. Barbara, I mean, says the right things. She says, hey, Dick, I think you're doing this on purpose. You want to be the bad guy and not the bad guy, but you want to throw yourself as far away to your family. And that's something I did like about this issue. I didn't mention that in my in-depth review. That Barbara mentions the Bat family, that they are family. I feel like, you know, the Bat family in general needs to bring that up a little bit more. And I like that. I like that idea of family. And Barbara cares for Dick in that way, not even in her own romantic way, but as a family member, she cares for him. And obviously in a romantic way too, but that's not going to happen here because they're just kind of in two different worlds once again. But yeah, Barbara definitely says the right things, but the thing that I didn't like about this issue is that even though you have these awesome characters that don't share enough panel time, all these moments just kind of felt forgettable, and this whole issue felt very forgettable. Again, it's because Dick's doing the same thing that he did in Grayson. It's not really progressing any story or oh my god moments or really any character development either. Even though there's some interesting things said here, it's not really progressing the character in any way. So I gave it 3 stars. You know, it's not a horrible issue, but I want so much more from Nightwing. So, like I said, gave that 3 stars. And that was number 13. Moving on to number 12, sad to see this so low, usually it's a bit higher, but that was All New Wolverine issue 11. With this issue, it's a Civil War II tie-in, and it's a bit too much of a Civil War II tie-in. I don't think it really needs to tie into this event, and that's kind of what annoyed me about this issue. Also, the artwork has changed where the backgrounds don't really mesh well with the coloring. Like, the art's good. The actual art style is good, but the colors didn't work for me. Too much brown going on. It didn't really pop. So, colors needed some work. But the story is about Old Man Logan killing Gabby, and Laura, you know, obviously having her own thoughts, saying, no, you can't capture him. That's not happening. Because obviously she knows how it feels to be captured and to be stuck in a place. So, and Old Man Logan knows the same thing. So she feels, you know, protective over him. And then we find out that Gabby does get stabbed. Is she dead? We don't know. But I think it's interesting that the whole reason that happened was because, like, Captain Marvel and her team and S.H.I.E.L.D. intervened. That's the reason why this all happened. So I like that idea. I think that was the interesting aspect of the tie-in, but I don't think we necessarily needed this tie-in. It does feel very fillerish, and a lot of the issue feels fillerish until you get to the end. Again, there's those small character moments like Laura saying, no, you can't do that to Old Man Logan. So All New Wolverine issue 11 for me gets 3.5 stars. Not a bad issue, but again, necessarily, I don't know if it's a needed issue either, if you're only reading for All New Wolverine. But, of course, you do have that interesting cliffhanger with Gabby. Moving on to number 11, which is Injustice Gods Among Us, Year 5, Issue 16. Which, again, is kind of the same thing happening over and over again. People fighting. I mean, what do you expect with a comic that's based on a fighting game? More you would expect, because the series has been really good with character development. But, yeah, with this issue, there's some, you know, shining moments of Hawkman dying and having his kryptonite mace. I thought that was cool. And then in the end, Batgirl hacking into Cyborg. It's a slower issue, because, again, it's mostly fighting, but there's some, you know, shining moments. Nothing that's, like, oh, wow moments for me, but I like the issue. So, Injustice Gods Among Us, Year 5, Issue 16, gets 3.5 stars. So I'm pretty sure that was number 11. Let's see. That was number 11, and we're moving on to number 10. Which is Spider-Woman issue 10. Yeah, I was going to say issue 10, but it is issue 10. Why would I say that twice? Anyways, this issue, I would say most of it is a little filler also, because it's a Civil War II tie-in, where Jessica is just investigating, seeing if Ulysses' visions are right, and she's like, yeah, it is, but I still don't really trust Carol, and it's a cool dynamic between their friendship. But then in the end, you see Jessica watch her one of her best friends die, which is Hawkeye, and she sees that it's her other best friend's fault, and she just leaves. She has nothing to say to Carol. I like this issue because of that ending. I like the build-up of this issue, but I will say a lot of the missions felt like, oh, we need to fill up pages. And I like the art. Veronica Fish takes over, but one thing I love about Veronica Fish's art is that she's able to manipulate her artwork in looking like other people's artwork. So if you're used to Rodriguez's artwork, Veronica Fish makes it look like his art, but still giving her own style. Now, it might also be because Javier Rodriguez did the layouts, but I do think with Archie too, we saw that change of her looking a lot like Fiona Staples style artwork. So I like that about her art style, that she can really change her style that way. So I like the art. The story I think is worth it for the ending, but again, it does feel a little fillerish towards the middle and the beginning of it. So Spider-Woman issue 10 gets 3.5 stars. And that's number 10. Moving on to number, I don't know what's going on with this iPad that won't turn on. Now it's taking pictures, which is wonderful. It's taking pictures of my screensaver. Number 9 is Mockingbird issue 6. Another Civil War II tie-in that, wasn't needed at all. But I won't say it wasn't needed, because Mockingbird actually is a character you would like to see tied in because she married Clint, and you want to see how she reacts to this. But a lot of the issue doesn't really have to do with Clint. It's her on this boat, and I kind of like that because, she's not totally dealing with her feelings with Clint, and you get to see, like, those small moments, and it's her and Hunter. But I don't love that the whole boat story. Like, there's small lines I liked about it, but the whole mystery and the actual adventure aspect I wasn't as interested in. So, Mockingbird issue 6 gets 3.5 stars. Not a bad tie-in, but I think it could have tied in even heavier with Clint and Mockingbird's relationship. Maybe next issue we'll see that, because there is a continuation. Alright, moving on to number 8, which is Supergirl Rebirth issue 1. Glad to see this a bit higher. Kind of higher. It's in the middle. But it's in the higher realm of the 3.5 star books. I like this issue. I will say the DEO aspect, there's some things I felt bored with, like one of the monsters that Supergirl was trying to chase. There's a lot of obviously setup in this issue. But I like the Silver Age tone to this book, where we get to see that Kara is going to be a high school student again, and she's going to be, Kara Danvers, like the TV show. But I think they meshed the TV show really well here, that it wasn't so obvious that they were being the TV show, but they have elements of it, like the Danvers family. Hopefully we get to see Alex soon. I hope that they have a daughter named Alex. But I liked it. I think it was a good setup issue. It wasn't perfect. I don't know if it got me super pumped, but it was a good issue, and like I said, enjoyed the Silver Age tone to it. So, I gave that 3.5 stars, and that was number, I'm going to just look it up. I think that was number 7. No, that was number 8. We're moving on to number 7, which is Green Lanterns, issue 5. I like this issue. I still don't love the art. I still think that the art's a little bit too thin line. There could be more detail, and also there's too much line work at the same time. Like, it's thin line, but at the same time, there's too much line work. So I think if it was a little bit darker lines, it would look a little bit better. But I do like the colors in this issue. It's not bad art. It's kind of average for a Green Lantern title. So, and like even here, kind of like smudges together some of the lines, with the Tracidus over there. So with this issue, we see kind of the personalities of Jessica and Simon once again. Simon having all this confidence and kind of failing because he doesn't know how to be a team member. Just not as badly as, past issues, but he still doesn't know how to be a team member. Leaving Jessica when she needs it the most, and then Jessica being anxious and wanting to make that construct, but can't. So it's a bit of a slower issue. I don't think anything really gets accomplished in this issue, so that's why it's not as higher. But it is a cool character look at Jessica and Simon. I actually like both Simon and Jessica in this issue, where I usually kneel towards or turn towards Jessica being the better story, which I still think she does have the better story, but Simon, I do care for him now, at least. So Green Lanterns issue 5 gets 3.5 stars. I do want the story to progress a little bit more. It does feel like it's stalled a bit, but there's some interesting character moments here. So moving on to number 6, which is Robin Hood, I Love New York issue 3, which I thought was a really solid issue. Really liked the new direction of Robin Hood, focusing more on Robin than her supporting characters and making them more guest stars. I think that's kind of what we needed after Pat Shan's great run, but I think you had to turn into a different thing if you're going to do Robin Hood without him. So, and I like that. I like that it's something new here. And the artwork's really well done, really, really detailed. And I liked her team up with Brittany, one of my favorite Red Agent, one of my favorite Zenoscope characters, because she's a werewolf. I love that. And I like that we have a little twist of who the villain is. And it feels like a one-shot issue, but at the same time, it's continuing this Robin Hood story of her living in New York, living on her own. So I liked it. I thought it was a very solid issue, and I gave it 4 stars. That was number 6, and it just kind of went there, the paper. But anyways, trying to aim it there, but just kind of went across the room. But moving on to number 5, which is Briggs Land, issue 1, which is from Dark Horse. And I thought this was a very solid setup of this woman who has always been a wife of this powerful man who's kind of like I would say, like the mob type, terrorist type guy. And they own this land that is pretty much no government, and they have their own rules, and that's not a good thing. But she takes over this land, and you learn a bit more about her personality, about her sons. 2 sons don't like her, and one that's who's in the military does and wants to do anything for her. But then you have this interesting cliffhanger that the son might have died because of whatever the brothers were doing, because father was in jail, the wife was done. She doesn't want to work for him anymore. She wants to work for herself and have her own ideologies. So I thought this was very interesting. Now, I still want to learn more about what their ideologies are, but the political aspect is really done well, and that's one thing I always praise Brian Wood for, is that he always makes some really interesting political thrillers. He did it with Ultimate X-Men. He's doing it with this series. He's done it with other series too. But I really like the political aspect here, and it's making it for making for an interesting story where it really is showing more of people not agreeing with each other. So I like that. I liked how the characters interacted with each other. I enjoyed the detective characters who are kind of these outsiders. That way, for us who is reading this first issue, we understand what's going on in the world, and it was a good mechanism for us learning about the Briggs Land and these characters. I really liked how seamless that was. So Briggs Land, I thought, was a very solid issue. It's actually going to be show on AMC, so glad I picked up this issue. And I'll continue to see where it goes. I thought it was a very good first issue. So that was number 5. Moving on to number 4, which is the Mighty Thor, issue 10, which I will say, some of the issue is slow, but when this issue picks up, it picks up. So it's the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent saying, alright, we know that Jane Foster is Thor. And there's some interesting fun scenes where they take Jane Foster's phone and says, well, this is Jane Foster's phone, but why is she talking to Captain America? So that was a lot of fun, how Jane reacts to that. But she's also dealing with this villain who is the daughter of the gold guy. You know, the guy turns everything into gold. And, shoots a bullet at Jane, at Thor, I'll say. And this is the moment you think that S.H.I.E.L.D.'s going to finally figure out this is Jane Foster, but you have this revealing cliffhanger that gets the viewer or the audience even confused, that Jane somehow separates herself, and then Jane Foster is able to be a medic and be there. And I'm curious of how that's even possible, because of course we know that Thor's Jane Foster. So I really like that cliffhanger, and obviously the artwork's gorgeous for this book. I thought it was a very solid read. So the Mighty Thor issue 10 gets 4 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3, which is Batgirl in the Birds of Prey, issue 1. Very impressed with this series. I think a lot of this issue proves what I didn't like about the first issue, was I felt like Black Canary and Batgirl's relationship was kind of off. But then you have this really amazing opening in this issue where you see why Black Canary and Batgirl are friends and why they both care about this Oracle identity. Now, I will say the aspect of Huntress's story, right, that I said that right, Huntress's story about the mob, I think could have been a little bit more interesting, but I like how she teamed up with Batgirl and Black Canary. I like that they all know Dick Grayson, and that's the reason why they're kind of teaming up here. Huntress saying, that's why I trust you, Batgirl, because I know Dick Grayson, and you know, I care for him, you care for him, let's team up. And I like the aspect of Commissioner Gordon kind of becoming part of the story, and Batgirl calling him up and saying, I do trust the cop, and doing that. So I thought this was a really fun issue. I can't wait to see where it goes. Artwork could use a little bit more detail in the facial expressions. They have kind of weird facial expressions, but I think that those are things that are easily corrected. I personally like the artwork more than others, but Batgirl Birds of Prey issue 1 gets 4.5 stars, and I've been really enjoying this series overall. Moving on to number 2, this is kind of hard to pick, so I really enjoyed both these issues a lot. But number 2 for me was Batman issue 5. So Batman, I really enjoyed this. And I love Tom King's writing so far for this series. Just the small moments of Alfred being Batman, Gotham Girl throwing Robyn's suit across the room. All those small little details of the Robin suit's never touched. It's always been a prop in the Batcave. Throw it across the room. Alfred and his sarcasm in this issue. Those are just small moments I like though. But the thing I really enjoyed is that this whole series you think, alright, Gotham's going to be the main character. Nope, Gotham Girl's actually the main character, which I like because I don't think there's enough female characters that are utilized in the Batman series. They obviously have their own stories. You got Barbara, you got Stephanie. They got their own kind of side of the Batman universe, but you don't have a girl character that's connected to Batman right now. Just Batman. I think it's kind of cool to have that. Especially because Alfred and Duke are the main characters right now. Why not make Gotham Girl a main character too? And she's pretty complex now because at first she just kind of became Gotham Girl because her brother was doing it and becoming this hero. And we learn a little bit more about their power sets. Now, I think Batman could have the opportunity to teach Gotham Girl how not to use her powers. But at the same time, you know, you have that ending where it says, well, this is the origin of Gotham Girl, but the death of Batman. What does that mean? Like, I'm really curious about that. But I will say a nitpick of this issue is that for some reason the last page of this issue, after all the other pages were present tense talking, it's future tense with Gotham Girl saying, I married Duke, and I killed Batman. Pretty much seeing that. And so that was a weird page. A lot of the off-panel speaking could have been a little bit better. I don't know if they really needed to use that as much as they did. But overall, I really enjoyed this issue, and I think there's some good shockers, some really good character moments, and I'm just looking forward to reading more Batman, more of Tom King's Batman. So, Batman issue 5 for me gets 4.5 stars, and that is number 2. Moving on to number 1, what was my pick of the week? And that was The Fallen, issue 1. I really enjoyed this issue. It's the Hulk family saying goodbye to Hulk. And it was really emotional the way Greg Pak does it. And it kind of goes back to, you know, his other run, which was the Doc Savage run, which I really enjoyed that because we got to see the Hulk family. It wasn't just about Hulk. And finally, there was a direction for Hulk. But then it got canceled because of all the other relaunches happening. But yeah, I like this issue for small moments. I think Betty really shined because she hasn't shined in a really long time. But I like the theme of that every Hulk character has their own type of anger. Betty is angry. She's pissed. You know, that's her personality at this point. She wasn't like that, but she's turned into that character. Same goes for Rick. Same goes for Betty's father. And you see that highlighted here. And what wraps that up so perfectly in a bow is what Hulk gives, or what Bruce gives his family, saying, you know, I don't know what position we're in right now. You might be angry at me, you might not be. You might, you know, love me, you might not. But we're family, and that's what's important. And I'm going to give you guys these timers. And whenever you feel angry, whenever you feel like you're going to make a rash decision, sit down, take 3 minutes, and don't do anything. Don't listen to music or, you know, dance. I don't know. Don't do any of that stuff. Just sit and think. And then you have these awesome beats in the end of this issue where you see Betty having to tell She-Hulk, where she's dreading to tell anyone that Hulk has died, her father being one of them, and now She-Hulk. She puts on that timer, no rash decisions. Same goes for Rick. You know, Rick just plays his guitar after. That's the right decision. But then we have a tie-in to Totally Awesome Hulk where Amadeus is like, no, you know, that's my decision. Bruce, I'm not doing this. I'm putting that timer away. I'm not opening it up. So I thought this was such a great issue that brought Bruce's personality, that brought the Hulk family back together. Really enjoyed this. This is how you do a tie-in to Civil War II. One of the best tie-ins I've read so far. So The Fallen is a must-read if you are a Hulk fan, or even if you just want a really good fallout from Civil War II. So I gave that 4.5 stars. Thought it was a really good issue. And hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno and Comic Frontline. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there are links for my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter. And don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father, Like Daughter. And guys, in the comments below, let me know what was your worst pick of the week, what was your best pick of the week, and everything in between. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.